Loneliness after 65 does not always look the way people think it does.
It does not always look like someone sitting in a dark room, crying.
It does not always look like having no family.
It does not always look like never talking to anyone.
Sometimes loneliness looks very ordinary.
It looks like making coffee in the morning and checking your phone before you even take the first sip.
No messages, no missed calls,
Nothing urgent, nothing personal.
So, you put the phone back down and tell yourself it is fine. Everyone is busy.
And maybe they are.
But the kitchen still feels quieter than it should.
Loneliness after 65 can feel like standing in the grocery store aisle, holding a can of soup, and realizing you have no idea why you feel sad.
Nothing has happened.
No one has been unkind.
You are just standing there,
Surrounded by people, and somehow you still feel far away from everyone.
You hear carts rolling,
A child laughing,
someone asking, "Did we need milk?" A couple deciding what to make for dinner.
and for a moment, you remember what it felt like to shop for a household, to buy someone's favorite cereal,
to remember who liked the soft bread.
To pick up something extra because someone might stop by.
Now you place one or two things in the cart.
Enough for yourself.
And that should be practical. It should be simple. But some days, it feels like proof that life has become smaller.
Loneliness after 65 can feel like finishing a whole day and realizing no one asked you how it went.
Not because they do not love you.
Maybe they do love you.
Maybe they would be upset if they knew how often you felt this way.
But love that never reaches you can still leave you cold. Care that stays assumed can still feel like silence.
People may say, "You know we care."
And you may believe them.
But sometimes you do not want to be cared about in theory. You want a voice.
A visit.
A question.
A chair pulled up beside yours. You want someone to remember you before there is a problem. Before the holiday. Before the birthday. Before the doctor calls. Before someone needs information only you have. You want to be thought of in the small middle of an ordinary day. That is what people do not always understand.
Loneliness after 65 is not only wanting company.
It is wanting to feel like you still live in someone's mind.
It is wanting to feel expected, included,
Considered.
not every minute.
Not in a demanding way. Just enough to remind your heart, I am still part of the world. And if that is what you have been missing, please know this. There is nothing shameful about it.
You are not needy because you want to be remembered.
You are not weak because silence hurts.
You are not childish because you miss being asked, "How are you really?"
You are human, and the human heart was not made to disappear quietly.
Some people think loneliness after 65 begins when you are alone. But sometimes it begins when you are with people and still feel unseen.
You may sit at a family table and smile. You may listen to everyone talk about work, school, travel, plans, bills, schedules.
You may be grateful just to be there.
You may not want to interrupt.
You may not want to make the conversation heavy.
So you nod.
You laugh at the right moments.
You say, "That's nice."
And after a while, you realize no one has asked much about you. Not because they are cruel. Maybe they are just moving quickly. Maybe they assume your life is simple now. Maybe they think retirement means every day is easy. Maybe they do not know that a quiet life can still have a lot going on inside it. So you go home afterward, and the house feels even quieter than before. Because being around people can make loneliness sharper when you still do not feel known. There is a special ache in being present but not reached for, in being loved but not deeply listened to, in being included but not truly seen. Loneliness after 65 can also feel like not wanting to call first. You may pick up the phone. You may look at a name. Your son, your daughter, an old friend, a neighbor, someone from church, someone you used to work with. Your thumb hovers there for a moment. Then the old thoughts arrive. They're probably busy. I do not want to bother them. What if they answer and sound rushed? What if they do not answer at all? What if I have nothing interesting to say? So you put the phone down. And then later, you feel sad that no one called. That is one of the cruelest parts of loneliness. It can make you long for connection and fear reaching for it at the same time. It can make you protect your pride so carefully that your heart stays hungry. It can make you tell yourself, I am fine, when what you really mean is, I do not know how to ask for more without feeling like a burden. If you have felt that, you are not alone. Many people after 65 become very good at needing little. They learn not to complain. They learn to be understanding. They learn to say, everyone has their own life. And that may be true. Everyone does have their own life. But you still have one too. A life with mornings, evenings, memories, appointments, small worries, private victories, things you notice, things you wish you could tell someone. A bird at the feeder, a pain in your knee that scared you for a moment, a dream that brought someone back, a recipe that finally came out right, a photograph you found in a drawer, a thought that passed through your mind while the house was quiet. These things may seem small, but a life is made of small things, and loneliness is often the pain of having no place to put them. No easy place to say, listen to this. No familiar person to tell, you'll never believe what I remembered today. No one who knows why that one song makes you quiet. No one who understands the story behind the chipped mug, the old coat, the recipe card, the scar on your hand, the chair by the window. Loneliness after 65 can feel like becoming the only witness to your own life. And that can be heavy because you have lived too much to be reduced to doing fine. You have survived things, loved people, lost people, worked hard, made mistakes, forgiven, carried responsibilities, sat beside hospital beds, paid bills when money was tight, raised children, or cared for parents, or held a marriage together, or started over when life broke apart. You have been many things to many people. And now, some days, it may feel as if all of that history lives quietly inside you, with nowhere to go. That is not small. That is not silly. That is grief. Not always grief for a person. Sometimes grief for a role, a rhythm, a version of yourself who used to be needed more obviously, a home that used to have more voices in it, a world that used to know where to place you. After 65, loneliness can feel like losing your place without anyone meaning to take it from you. No one announces it. No one says you matter less now. But little by little, things shift. People stop asking your opinion. Plans happen without you. Conversations move too fast. Technology changes the way people stay in touch. Family group chats replace phone calls. Pictures get posted instead of stories being told. Invitations become occasional. Visits become shorter. And you tell yourself you understand. You do understand. But understanding does not always make it stop hurting. You can understand why people are busy and still miss them. You can be proud of your children's lives and still wish you were more included in them. You can enjoy your independence and still wish someone would check in without being asked. You can be grateful for peace and still ache from too much quiet. Two things can be true. That is important. You can be strong and lonely. You can be loved and lonely. You can be independent and lonely. You can have faith and lonely days. You can have a family and still feel forgotten. You can have a good life and still miss closeness. Loneliness does not mean you are ungrateful. It means your heart is telling the truth about a need that has not been met. And that need is not shameful. There's another kind of loneliness that comes with loss. The kind that shows up in routines. The second pillow. The empty chair. The cup you no longer use. The television show you stopped watching because it was something you watched together. The meal you cannot make without hearing their voice. The side of the bed that still feels like it belongs to someone. People may think grief is strongest at funerals, anniversaries, or holidays. But sometimes it is strongest on a regular afternoon, when you turn to say something and remember, again, that they are not there. Again, that word matters, because loneliness after loss is not one remembering. It is 1,000 little rememberings. 1,000 moments when the heart reaches out by habit and finds empty air. And after a while, you may stop telling people about those moments. Because you think they expect you to be better by now. Because you do not want to make them uncomfortable. Because you do not want to hear, "At least you had many good years." Yes, maybe you did. But good years do not erase the ache of an empty chair. Love leaves echoes. And sometimes, loneliness is the sound of those echoes coming back through the rooms of your life. If that is the loneliness you carry, please do not scold yourself for it. Do not tell yourself you should be over it. Do not measure your grief by someone else's patience. Some absences become part of the furniture of the soul. You learn to live around them. You learn where they sit. You learn which mornings they are loudest. And slowly, maybe, you learn how to keep living without pretending the love was small. Loneliness after 65 can also feel like being tired of explaining. Tired of saying your hearing is not what it used to be. Tired of asking people to repeat themselves. Tired of turning down invitations because driving at night is harder now. Tired of pretending your body has the same energy it once had? Tired of making plans, then worrying whether you will feel well enough to go? Tired of being told to get out more by people who do not understand how much effort getting out can take? So you stay home. And home is safe. But safe can become small. And small can become silent. And silent can become lonely. Not because you stopped caring about people, but because life placed more steps between you and them. Health,
Transportation.
money, energy,
Hearing.
weather, fear of falling, fear of being a burden, fear of slowing everyone down. This kind of loneliness is not laziness. It is not failure. It is a life becoming harder to move through. And if that is you, you deserve compassion, not criticism. You deserve connection that meets you where you are. A call scheduled when you're not too tired. A visit that does not require a spotless house. A friend who speaks clearly and does not make you feel foolish for asking, "Could you say that again?" A family member who understands that being quiet does not mean you have nothing to say. A world that remembers slower people are still people. Loneliness after 65 is not one feeling. It has many rooms. There is the loneliness of the quiet house, the loneliness of the silent phone, the loneliness of eating alone, the loneliness of not being asked, the loneliness of being around people who do not really see you, the loneliness of missing someone who used to make the world feel shared, the loneliness of being proud enough not to ask, but tender enough to wish someone would notice. And beneath all of it, there is often one question. Do I still matter? That may be the deepest ache. Not, am I busy? Not, do I have plans? Not, did someone text me today? But, do I still matter? Would anyone notice if I were quieter? Does anyone wonder what I am thinking? Does anyone need the love I still have to give? If that question has been living inside you, I want to answer it carefully. Yes, you still matter. Not because you are useful every day. Not because you can do what you used to do. Not because someone called this morning. Not because your calendar is full. You matter because you are a living person with a heart, a history, a voice, and a presence that cannot be replaced. You matter because the years you have lived are not gone. They are in you. You matter because the love you gave did not vanish. You matter because your stories are still worth hearing. You matter because your kindness can still reach someone. You matter because your life is not over just because it has become quieter. And if no one has reminded you of that lately, let this be a small reminder. You are not invisible here. Your loneliness is not proof that you are unwanted. It is proof that you are human enough to need connection. And needing connection is not a weakness. It is part of being alive. Now, I do not want to turn this into quick advice. Because when a person is lonely, advice can feel like someone trying to move them out of their pain too quickly. Join a club. Call a friend. Stay busy. Think positive. Those things may have their place. But before any of that, a lonely person often needs something simpler. They need someone to say, I understand why this hurts. So let me say that now. I understand why the quiet hurts.
I understand why the phone matters.
I understand why a meal alone can feel heavier than it looks.
I understand why you do not want to beg for attention. I understand why you can love your family and still feel left out. I understand why one small message can change the whole shape of a day. I understand why you may be tired of being strong. And I understand why you may have stopped expecting much. But please, do not let loneliness convince you to disappear from your own life. Do not make yourself smaller because others have become distracted. Do not stop preparing a real meal because there is no one across the table. Do not stop opening the curtains because no one is coming over. Do not stop telling your stories because no one has asked lately. Do not stop reaching for the world completely. You do not have to reach far, just a little. One small bridge. A message that says, I was thinking of you today. A call to someone who may also be lonely. A walk at the same time each morning. A visit to the same library, diner, church, park, or community center. A card sent by mail. A neighbor greeted by name. A memory written down before it fades. A small act of care toward your own body. A small act of tenderness toward someone else. These things may not cure loneliness all at once, but they keep a door open. And sometimes keeping one door open is an act of courage, especially when your heart has been disappointed before, especially when you're tired, especially when the silence has started to feel permanent. The silence is not the whole story. It may be the chapter you are in, but it is not the whole story. There can still be a familiar face, still a returned call, still a new routine, still a neighbor who becomes a friend, still a grandchild who learns your stories, still a group where someone saves you a seat, still a morning that feels less empty than the one before. Still a reason to set the table. Still a place where your name is spoken warmly. Not every day. Not perfectly. But enough to remind you that life can still reach you. So, if loneliness after 65 has been sitting with you lately, I hope you will be gentle with yourself tonight. Do not call yourself forgotten. Call yourself human. Do not call yourself weak. Call yourself someone who is loved enough to miss being close. Do not call your life empty. Call it quieter than it used to be. And then, when you're ready, place one small sound into that quiet. Ah, hello. A prayer, a message, a memory, a song, a kettle boiling, a chair pulled up to the table, a voice saying, even softly, I am still here. Because you are. You are still here. With all your years, all your memories, all your tenderness, all the love that still has nowhere obvious to go, but is still real. Loneliness may be part of your life right now, but it is not your name. It is not your worth. It is not the end of your story. You are more than the silence around you. You are more than the calls that did not come. You are more than the empty chair. You are more than the days when no one asked. You are still a person who can be known. Still a person who can be remembered. Still a person who can give and receive warmth. still a person whose presence matters. And maybe connection will return slowly, one small bridge at a time, one familiar face at a time, one honest sentence at a time, one quiet act of courage at a time. But slowly is still real, and you are still worthy of being reached. If this felt true for you, leave a simple "I'm still here" in the comments. You do not have to explain your whole story. Just "I'm still here" is enough.